G'day folks, what is going on? It's Jacob coming at you with another video just down on the beach this morning. I was watching the sunrise. You can see it's just peaked up over the horizon 10 minutes ago. And, now it's in full swing. I was just sitting down here having a cup of coffee and watching that come up, hanging out, and got the urge to film a video. Beautiful spot down here, watching people walk back and forth. Heaps of people come down to take photos of the sunrise. These nice apartment buildings along the beach. This one up here, this one just got finished. It's like 10 years in the making. There's like 3 big towers. There's a hotel on the bottom. You can see this like construction stuff along the bottom. They're building a boardwalk all the way along the front, which will be good because it'll connect up all the properties along here. And it's a pretty nice place to sit and chill out in the morning with a cup of coffee. But I got an urge to film a quick video, and it's one that I've been wanting to make for a while. Don't need the computer for this one, so I figured why not do it down here. Just a little thinking tip or a perspective or a thought paradigm or whatever you want to call it about how you go about growing your business. In particular, if you want to every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every year, keep detaching more and more your income from the amount of time and energy that you have to put out every day, right? We start to get into this interesting debate and discussion that happens online around passive income, leveraged income, active income, all that kind of stuff. And I'm not really going to go in that direction with this one. I think it gets murky, and I think the definitions get blurred, and honestly, I don't really think it's important. But what I do want to give you is just a little shift in your thinking in order to allow you to keep making more and more money, but that not be tied to how much work you have to put in, and in terms of like direct hours and energy input into your business. This is one that I got from my mentor, Travis, and it's been, honestly, this is probably the biggest thing that I've taken away from him. You've got the strategies, you've got the tactics, you've got all the cool little, scripts and templates and resources and stuff from being in his, multi-5-figure programs. This thought paradigm has been, I'd say, the biggest thing that's stuck with me out of all of it. All right, and I want to share it with you for free. Okay, let me start by saying I'm no stranger to hard work. I've never been the type that, isn't willing to put in the hours through high school, through university, getting into the corporate game. Always worked my ass off, right, as hard as possible to achieve what I wanted to achieve. I was one of those people that thought, just work harder, just work harder, just work harder, just work harder. That really kind of culminated for me when I was starting the business and still working. And I got to a point where I couldn't work any harder. It wasn't physically possible. There wasn't enough hours in a day. I was sleeping very few hours a night, and I actually got sick. And it taught me a lesson the hard way that you just can't keep grinding and hustling all the time. Right? I did a couple of years working in New York in the corporate finance game. Huge hours. So many people over there burn out. The attrition rate's huge. They don't live healthy lifestyles in any way. Stress is through the roof. Family life suffers, all that kind of stuff as well. It's a stressful life. And so, especially as you get older, you're probably not going to be able to go at the same pace you did in your late 40s, 50s that you did in your 20s, right? I mean, maybe you can, but I don't think you want to build something that's fully contingent on you being able to crank huge hours, right? I think that's short-sighted. Who knows? People get sick, all this kind of stuff, right? And so this little paradigm for me is the key, right? And it flows into so many things. So what most people are doing is they spend their life on this. They live in this world with just 2 things, right? Time/energy and money. And they just go back and forth between that all day, every day. Right? With this kind of short-sighted view that they'll always be able to do that, or that I'm happy with how much money I'm making now, and so it's fine. And if that's cool for some people, fine, right? Who am I to judge? But for people who do have drive and ambition to want to make more for the longer term, and don't always want to have to, put in a unit of time or energy to get out a unit of money, whatever that may be, there's a little hack to that paradigm that you can just add one extra step in the middle, right? One extra step, and it changes everything. Okay, it changes everything. What that is if instead of spending all of our days going energy into money and constantly trading back and forth, where there's nothing being stored, there's nothing being captured, there's nothing that's being preserved for the long term, if instead of doing that, rather, as much as possible, right? You're never going to be able to fully get away from not having some energy into money trade-off. There's always going to be a bit of it, right? So I'm not trying to, send you down some diluted path where you're not putting in any work. But I want to give you this one extra thing that will drastically change things for you, right? It may force you to have to slow down. It has for me. But in the long run, you'll come out ahead. Okay? The person who can extend that time horizon, the person that can extend that time horizon will win with this mentality. Okay? And what that is instead of every day just shoveling your energy to try and make money and never really building anything, put your energy and your time wherever possible, right? So any of the time that you've got outside of, where you have to swap it for money, plow it into assets, okay? That might be building assets, that might be acquiring assets, okay? And when I say acquiring assets, it doesn't just have to be through financial means. It could be trading, could be JVing, all that kind of stuff, or getting control of assets. Assets is the key. Assets is the circuit breaker, right? And here's why. People are always stuck on that loop, as we spoke about, right? And that means that their energy is the thing generating the cash flow, right? And that's why they have to keep doing it. This circuit breaker, when you add the asset piece in, and I'll go further into what an asset actually is, because when people hear the word asset, they naturally think like real estate, apartment building, right? A house, a car, whatever, they think physical assets, and it doesn't have to be that, okay? Especially in this online world, right? But what happens is when you add that step in the middle and you put your energy and your time into building, acquiring, getting control of assets, they start to do the cash flowing. The asset is the thing that spits out the money, like a piece of real estate, right? Like a piece of real estate, it's the thing doing the cash flowing, and we can replicate that online in our business, right? But it starts with changing your thought paradigm from constantly swapping time and money to putting your time and your energy into building assets, right? And letting the asset do the cash flowing. And that's why you have to slow down a bit, because it would be easy for me to spend all day in my DMs selling, $1,000 an hour consulting packages, right? Two problems with that. One, I'd go nuts spending all day in the DMs. Two, I'd very quickly cap out my income and I'd be spending all day on the phone, right? Which just isn't how I want to live. If I wanted to make more, I'd have to give up my Saturday morning sitting down the beach, watching the sunrise, right? And drinking coffee. And I just don't want to do that, right? I could do that, but that's severely limited. Is highly contingent on me waking up every day motivated and driven to put the time and the effort in to do that, showing up on calls, and as soon as I stop, the money stops, right? So instead, if I slow down a little bit and I identify key assets to invest my time in, then those are the things that can do the cash flowing for me, okay? And in the information business, which is probably what you're in, and this could be as an affiliate, doesn't matter if it's your own stuff, right? I've done all those different models. Those come in a few different forms, right? They come in a few different forms. I'll talk to you about two major ones in this video, okay? One is lead generation assets, all right? This is what I'm doing right now, is creating a lead generation asset. I'm filming a video, taking 10 minutes, 15 minutes, however long this video ends up being, out of my morning, right? And I love filming these while I'm hanging out to create something that'll sit on YouTube. We might put it on other platforms, and it's cloning myself, right? I'm taking these 10, 15, 20 minutes, however long this video ends up being, and I'm cloning myself hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of times across the internet to deliver and share this piece of value and this message from me to you, right? Whoever you are, the individual watching this video, right? This is an example of it, right? This is why I'm continuing to double down on YouTube. These things also act as nurturing assets, okay, which is another type of asset. It's a piece of content that strengthens your relationship with the people in your audience, right? So if you get value from this, whether you consciously realize it or not, the strength of our connection and how you think about what we do may improve. It may not, but it may. But if you get some value from this, it's likely that it will, okay? And so one bucket every time, sorry, Siri keeps going off. One bucket that we can invest our time in every day is building these lead generation assets, okay? So that's things like YouTube videos, like written content, like doing interviews, right? Getting in front of other people's audiences. That's where you're essentially, they've got assets, they've got audiences, right? That's where you're essentially intercepting their traffic, right? Over the journey, I've done training presentations for the guys at ClickFunnels, for the guys at Legendary Marketer. I've done countless interviews that are on podcasts, YouTube channels, in Facebook groups. Those are all lead generation assets that over time compound to the point now, every day when I wake up, when I get my coffee, right, come down here for a walk, there's new leads in the business, right? And they're new leads who already know who I am, okay? That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about building lead generation assets. Things that sit out there in the world in front of people, right? Either on your platform or on someone else's platform. And those roads all point back to you, okay? I was watching an Alex Hormozy video the other day and explained this really cool. He explained this in a cool way, which I hadn't really thought about. Simple, but I think it's cool. He said, when you put out a thing like a video, right, and you share value, you get such a disproportionately big return because that video goes out in hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of different directions into all these different people's lives, right? But all of the energy and attention that comes from that video has to flow back to one spot, and that's you, the creator of it, right? So you're sending it out and it's spreading out across a heap of different places, but it all comes back to you. I just think that's a really, really cool way to think about it. So that's the first thing you want to be building. Every day is these lead generation assets, teeing up JVs, creating things that are going to hang out online, long-term, right? Videos, blog posts, all that kind of stuff, all right? What you're going to have to do is if your calendar is full of things where you're constantly trading that time for money, you're going to have to sacrifice those in the short term so that you've got capacity to build these things, right? So I try and minimize the amount of time that I spend on the phone, be that with my team, be that, running unnecessary calls, right? We do what we need to do and we get off, because every extra bit of time and energy when I'm kind of in the zone working, I want to be pumping it into building something for the long term, right? And endlessly being on calls or having conversations is a one and done thing, right? It's fine, you need to do it to a degree, but we can get into this, we can have this tendency to drag it out unnecessarily. Okay, so that's the first one I want you to think about is your content lead generation assets, getting out there and building them. Find ways to intercept other people's traffic flow. Get your trainings into their courses, into their masterminds, right? If you've got a specialized skill, they'll be happy to do it because it makes them look better, right? It brings more value to their people. You've just got to get off your ass and network, right? And find these opportunities. This is how you can literally get free traffic for life, right? And it's warm traffic. I talk about this concept called the prospect spectrum, where it's like any from 0, they don't know you, 1, they're starting to know you, but it's kind of cold, all the way to 10 when they're like pulling out their wallet and ready to buy from you. When you do things like this and you build these content assets, when they do enter your world, when they join your email list, when they join your Facebook group, they're already starting to move along that prospect spectrum in a big way because of how they found you, right? And what all of that does is it compounds to make the sales process shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, right? Like we're at the point now where we have people who reach out after watching the YouTube channel, for example, a couple of questions, boom, we're doing 10, 15, 20, 25, $30,000 deals, right? No calls, just sending over an offer document, right? Really, really cool stuff. But it takes building these content assets. Okay, that's the first one. Second one, which ties back to what I just said, is offer assets, right? And this may be multiple offer assets if you've got multiple offers, or it might just be plowing all your time and energy into making one of them really, 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 really good. Okay, and when I say an offer asset, I mean it could be a one-page funnel, it could be a PDF document, it could be a Loom video. It doesn't really matter the actual technical vehicle for it, but what you want to be doing is each day at least looking at it and thinking, how can I improve this, right? Listening to your audience, listening to your clients, having conversations with people, right? You don't react to every piece of feedback that you get, but being open to the idea of how could I potentially improve this and make it better, right? You're channeling your energy into these offer assets. It's being captured, and then that does the selling for you, which means you don't have to crank the phones all day, or you don't have to manage a big team of people to do it, because it's all captured inside this offer asset. Okay, there's a myth in the industry too that this only works for low ticket stuff. It's total bullshit. Works fine for anything up to 50 grand we've seen, right? You just don't need to have a phone conversation to do this if the offer asset is built in the right way, and that takes time to develop. Okay, as the content assets do. All right, so they're the two that I would highly recommend that you, if you're trying to get to the point of making kind of your first $1 million online, they're the two major ones that I'd really be focusing on. Once that gets to a certain point and you're taking on a certain number of clients, you'll need to start thinking more about delivery assets, a little bit more about sales assets, which is your process, all that kind of stuff. But that comes down the line. Okay, start with those two, chip away at them every day, and each day, week, quarter, month, year, right, decade, your income will keep trending up, right? A bit slower than if you were trading time for money, but we're willing to sacrifice that because it's going to be detached from our time, right? It's more and more detached because the assets are doing the heavy lifting, the assets are doing the selling, the assets are doing the lead generating, right? It makes our life way easier, and it's a lot of fun. It allows you to slow down and know that you're building something sustainable for the long term. Okay, this video ran a little bit longer than I wanted. Sun's a fair bit higher now. Hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me this morning. Give this video a like, head over to jacobkarras.com. You can join our private community, join the email newsletter, check out the masterminds that we run. We've got a mastermind for affiliate marketers. We've got a mastermind for people who want to do what I just described, which is get clients for their high ticket information business without strategy sessions. We'll help you build the offer assets and build the content assets. You can work with me and my team. I've got my inner circle where I help you build out that whole ecosystem, right? Building all these different content assets, building different offers, adding high ticket continuity, stacking up income streams that are detached from your time. It's a blast. All right, so you can check them out at www.jacobkarras.com. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I'm going to go grab another coffee and enjoy the weekend. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.